One of the saddest things I hear women say is, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one who doesn't want sex anymore. I thought I was the only one who can't orgasm with my partner. I thought I was the only one whose body's changed. I thought I was the only one who feels guilty wanting more. You're not. In fact, today we're answering the questions women think they're the only ones asking. And by the end of this conversation, I think you'll realize you've been asking the wrong question all along. Okay, so welcome back to the Sensual Sisterhood podcast. Today's episode is one I've been wanting to do for a while because over the years, through one-on-one coaching, retreats, workshops, the Sensual Sisterhood, all the things, and thousands of conversations that Barbara and I have had with women, we've noticed something. And that is that the questions women ask may sound different on the surface, but underneath, it's often the same fear. And that fear is something wrong with me? So today we're answering some of the questions that come up over and over again, like the ones that women will whisper to us after everyone else has left the room, or the ones they'll send us in DMs because they're afraid to ask them out loud, or, the ones that make so many women believe that they're the only one. Spoiler alert, you're not. But before we dive in, I have a favor to ask, and that is that if we don't answer the question that you've been carrying it, please leave it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or send us a DM on Instagram, or post it inside the Sensual Sisterhood if you're already a member, or you can join us and post it there. Because if you guys love this format, we're going to absolutely do another episode. And we want to make sure that we're getting to your questions because honestly, this is probably just scratching the surface. All right, so let's jump in. The first question, and I think this is the one I've heard the most often, is it normal that I don't want sex anymore? And this comes from my midlife women. But I have women in their 30s who are asking this question way before midlife. Do you get that same also? Is that like your biggest question too, Barbara?
It's definitely one of it's definitely one of the questions that I get. I
Yeah.
think it's more like it depends. It depends on who the person is. I think it's also vulnerable for people to say that. But yeah. Um in terms of this question, I think it's really yes, it's normal given where your life is, if you're stressed out all the time and you're not getting your basic needs met, like sleep and eating properly. And, if you are in a constant state of the cortisol levels are really high, which is stress, you're not going to want to have sex because your body's in survival mode. So that's actually normal. Turn on is like a muscle. So if you're not using it, it atrophies, right? It's not something like me and Marta don't just get up and we're just turned on all day long and we just want to have sex all day long. We are consciously cultivating turn on. We're intentional. We're like intention and attention to it. We are creating time and space for our pleasure. It's like a diet, and a diet that you weave in through your day. So, because no one's probably ever taught you that, no one taught us that. We learned it, thank God. But if you don't have like a pleasure diet, combined with high levels of cortisol, which I think that most women right now are drowning in high levels of cortisol.
Sure.
And because of everything they have to do, all of the things they're, women thinking and overthinking is it's a very dangerous thing for our bodies.
Yeah.
So that makes you not want to have sex anymore. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. But the number three is, if you are like, why don't I want to have, or is it normal that I don't want to have sex anymore? If you're questioning that, that leads me to believe that there's something in you that thinks it's wrong. And if you think it's wrong, that's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Because you're now making it wrong, you don't want to have sex. So that, and then, so it's like those three to look out for. Like if you're noticing, is it normal for me not to want to have sex anymore? It's like, yeah, this is a great time for you now to look at what are the conditions that could be creating that why don't you want to have sex, right? Why don't I want to have sex instead of is it normal that I don't want to have? Like, what conditions are being created for you that you're creating for yourself in your life to not want to have sex? And there's also seasons like fall, spring, summer, winter. Sometimes we're in a winter phase, right? Where you don't want to have sex as much. Not a big deal. Your body needs to like rest sometimes and rejuvenate and sleep and do the thing and be alone. Again, it's all of those things.
Yeah, I would answer this question similarly, but a little different. So just to answer it head on, is it normal that I don't want sex anymore? I would say, first of all, you're not alone. It is common to not want sex anymore. If you've had a stressful time in your life, if you have stopped microdosing pleasure, if you're not tuned into your body, if you don't have if you have a relationship with your body that is not harmonious, right? If you're like hating your body, or you're like I don't deserve pleasure until I look like this, or I weigh this much, right? Like those types of things. If you've had sexual trauma, if you've been in a partnership where it feels like obligation, like there's so many things that might make you not want sex anymore. And so what I would say is, if your body's saying I used to want sex and now I don't, it might feel not normal to you because you used to want sex. And so I would reframe that question as like, it's not that there's something wrong with you, it's your body giving you information. Your system's very intelligent and it's saying, I'm not open to sex right now because there's these reasons. And so your job is to investigate those reasons. But none of this is about your body being broken. It's not just a factor of age. This isn't just normal to stop wanting sex simply because there are more years you've lived. Like that's not a natural progression. There's something else going on. And low desire is often your body's intelligence saying, something's up with my nervous system, with my relationship, with how much I understand how my system works in terms of responsive versus spontaneous desire, all this stuff. And we've actually covered this topic in a bunch of other episodes where we've talked about this. Maybe in the show notes, we'll reference some of those if you want to go deeper. But if you don't want sex anymore, it is okay. And it's something to get curious about versus judging, because your body's not betraying you, it's communicating with you. So question 2 that I get all the time, that we get all the time, is how come I can orgasm by myself but not with my partner? Like, this is a good one, because I used to have this question too, because I've definitely been at times in my life that woman who's like, no problem in self pleasure, but with him, I don't know, it's not happening. So let's talk about that a little bit. What's that about, Barbara?
So, well, first of all, yay, you're orgasming by yourself. So that's a celebration. I'm so happy for you. Yeah, and that's something to be
Amen.
proud of. And you're not, it's okay too. But yes, you're taking time for your self pleasure. Yes, you're orgasming by yourself. And I want to just celebrate women for taking time to do that for themselves because that's a big deal in the world that we live in.
Yes.
Um, so number two is because you're probably more relaxed when you're alone. The body needs safety for orgasm to happen. And notice, are you wondering how you look when you're alone? Are you thinking, am I taking too long? Are you thinking about focusing out on your partner and like his pleasure? Because all of those things with a partner will put you into your head and that will take you out of your body and make the orgasm take longer to achieve.
Yeah.
So, pleasure requires safety, it requires presence, and it requires surrender.
Yeah.
And if you're in your head instead of your body with a partner, orgasm becomes much more challenging.
Yeah.
And it's not a flaw, it's an invitation to create more communication, trust, and spaciousness together. It's actually a really great place to like, it's a relationship builder
Yeah.
with yourself and with them. There's like real intimacy there that can be created. So if you are here, you're actually, it doesn't sound great, but it's actually a really like, I love when people come to me with this when I'm working with them because I'm like, it only gets better from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I would add only that I think a lot of women who come to me with that question think it's about technique, like they need a better technique. They need, like, they're doing something wrong, right? Or do I need to explain to my partner how his or her technique needs to change? And honestly, 95% of the time, it has nothing to do with technique. It has to do with what you were describing, this like self-monitoring that goes on when there's another person in the room. And by the way, I've had male clients come to me with the same thing. I've had men say to me, no problem orgasming with myself, but with a partner, like there's an issue. I have to be more relaxed. I have to be less self-conscious. Like, it doesn't just affect women, though it affects us more because our system tends to take more warm up, as we've discussed. So yeah, what Barbara said about building intimacy, building safety, building presence, focusing less on the performance and more on the actual feeling, right? And that's what you get to do when you're alone. Nobody's watching you. So you're just experiencing the sensations. Now there's someone else in the room, and there's this level of monitoring that goes on. So if you have this experience, it's okay. You're not alone, and it can be addressed. All right, question 3. How do I tell my partner what I actually want? I get this one all the time, and I often find that there's a very specific thing. Like, she may be able to tell her partner a whole bunch of things, but there's this like one bucket of stuff that she can't go into. And it's often around sex and fantasy and what her actual desires are, but sometimes it's outside of the bedroom too. And honestly, so much of this is we disconnect from our own desires. We judge them before they're even like in their infancy, before they're shared with anyone else. And so, yeah, if you're again self-monitoring, it's going to be pretty hard to communicate that to your partner. What's your take on that, Barbara?
So, telling your partner what you actually want when you have not been able to do it for years, like if you are in a dynamic, especially in the bedroom, and this is very common, it's like maybe you can tell them what you want outside of the bedroom, but maybe in the bedroom it's harder. There, it's fear, right? Women were taught not to use their voice, conditioned as children not to use their voice in many cultures globally. And like, fear, is he going to get upset? Fear, what am I asking for too much? Fear, like, there's a fear there. And the good news is, most men I find, or any partner, whoever, men, women, that doesn't matter. They want to please you. So they want to know, right? So that's only your fear. And it's really about starting with curiosity versus criticism. That's another thing that I find. It's like, rather than saying, you're doing it wrong, I don't like this. If women have been in a relationship for long periods with someone, they might be resentful about things outside of the bedroom. And then they'll be like, oh, I don't like the way you're doing this in the bedroom. Right. So another way to, you want to like, this is why consciously, constantly cultivating turn on is so important. You want to start with, and it's like something that I teach is like king training. And this is an art. This does not happen overnight. But instead of saying something like, you're doing it wrong, move your hand or to the left,
Mhm.
it's, you know what? I would love to show you what feels amazing. It would feel even more amazing if you move to the left and we're a little bit less pressure, right? Just like that. Yeah, that's much.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
just remembering they are not mind readers. And that's a good thing. We don't want them to be
Yeah.
mind readers.
So
Okay.
true.
It's a really good thing, right? So they're not mind readers. And I think a lot of times we want them to be mind readers in the bedroom because we don't want to get over that fear, that hump of telling them what we want from a vulnerable place, from a loving place, because there's still armor when you're telling them from you're doing it wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So and what's more intimate than being naked and having a sensual experience with your partner? So the next level of intimacy is communicating from that vulnerable place. So giving someone a roadmap to your pleasure with love,
Mhm.
in turn on, is actually an incredible, incredible gift. It creates more intimacy, not less. Your pleasure deserves to have a voice, and it's a practice, and it's something that this is like, a big communication skill to work through and figure out how to get that skill.
Yeah. It's also like it's a huge opportunity for I mean, on so many levels, like to dispel your good girl conditioning a little bit, right? Like to be honest about what you actually want, to connect with what you actually want, to get over like fear of disappointing him, fear of conflict, fear of sounding selfish, right? All these things that we loop around for years potentially in relationships. It's like this opportunity to be truthful in an erotic context. Like the alchemy that can happen in that is so powerful. Um, but it can be hard if you yourself have been disconnected from what you wanted for a while. So again, you're not alone if you struggle with this. And as Barbara said, there is a way, and it's about love and curiosity and communication combined with your own self-awareness. So absolutely can navigate this bridge. Okay, question 4. Can women really have the best sex of their lives after 40? I'm sorry, I just burst into laughter because I'm like, that is the great secret.
So,
This lie we've been told that the older you get, the more everything sucks, you know? And I see it all the time, like on my Instagram, I'll have young women being like, but doesn't it get worse? Doesn't the vagina atrophy? Don't you become super dry? Doesn't sex become pain? Like all these things that they've heard that constantly perpetuate.
lies, lies, lies.
Lies. Now,
Like,
to each their own. I'm not.
they're like, shame. This is like lies, lies,
Yeah,
lies.
totally lies. Like, yes, if you completely stop engaging with that part of your anatomy, it will atrophy. That is true. Do hormonal changes shift the balance of how much natural lubrication like easily is spontaneous? It might. Each person's different. I don't know what your hormonal situation is like. There are things that I can't answer because I'm not a doctor, but most of what you've been told about aging and sex is bullshit. In fact, most of what you've been told about sex is bullshit. Most of what you've been told about aging is bullshit. When you put them together, it's like logarithmic bullshit, right? Youth and aliveness are not the same thing. And I didn't believe this until I crossed the 50 threshold and reclaimed my like aliveness in that area. But it can, I actually think that sex is better after 40. Like for me, better after 50 because I know myself better. I'm not interested in performing at all. I'm like, I'm here for the experience, not to impress you. So we're going to be real about this. I'm more in my body. I know what brings me pleasure. Like I've experimented enough with myself to know what I want, what I like. And there's an openness to like, okay, I'll try something new because I know what my boundaries are and I know like, like I know myself better, period. So I think that that's a huge thing that nobody talks about when we talk about aging, like how much actually more power and confidence you can have if you choose to own your sex. What would you add to that?
I would say, yeah. I mean, by that stage of life, like once you get, I mean, for me, it was like mid early 30s. Because I mean, I had just like a fucking rough childhood. But so once, like, I think the rougher the childhood, the faster you're like, okay, everything they're telling me is a lie. It's all bullshit. And it's where you're like, less concerned about the people pleasing and the performing, and you're willing to prioritize your own desire over anyone else. That's it. Really takes that. Like, my desire is the most important. I'm prioritizing, and with that, like, my confidence grew, right, and the self-awareness deepens. And then you combine that with emotional maturity and embodiment. Sex can be way less about performance, way more about genuine pleasure and connection. And, women I talk to who are 60s, 70s, 80s, they have one thing they all have in common is that they have made a commitment to themselves this is going to, they decided there's nothing more than powerful. If you're listening to this and you want to have better sex and you've been in a place where like it hasn't been happening, there's nothing more powerful than saying, that's it. I'm going to start having great fucking sex from this moment on.
Time.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Let go of the how. It's just that statement, repeat
Mhm.
after me. Wherever you are right now, wherever you're listening to this, in the car, at home, whatever. I am deciding from this moment on, I'm going to have mind blowing, multi orgasmic sex life. And that's it. And just let that be the thing that informs you and how to move, because they basically have everyone that I've polled over the age of 50 has made that decision at some point in their life, either alone or with their current partner or whatever. I know women married for 30, 40 years who said, when I got married, I said, we better have a great sex life. And he said, yeah. And to this day, they have been devoted to this. And it goes back to what I said before of like it's the intention and attention to the intention that is going to get you there. So, and the other thing they say is that after menopause, a lot of these women have reported even better sex because they have been on the committed track, they've been on the devoted track, so they know the difference of sex, like really great sex before and really great sex after. And apparently, what happens is this lining that sheds on the inside that makes you even more sensitive and more like, ooh, like stimulated. So, like, it's all good news if you are willing to do it.
Absolutely. And also, let's not forget the advantage of not being able to get pregnant and not having to worry about birth control anymore. Like, talk about liberating, okay? Or not having the kids in the house anymore if you raise children with your partner. Like those factors also play a big role to how awesome sex can be after 40, 50, and beyond. I actually posted a reel about this last week. And if you find that reel on my Instagram and look at the comments, or on Facebook, I can't remember where it is, maybe both. There are I had someone who was 95 posting about how they're having amazing sex with their partner.
Yeah,
65, 70, 50, like all the range, like other
yeah.
humans, me and Barbara in this work, just saying absolutely, like it gets better. You don't even know. So yeah, erase that fiction from your vocabulary.
Saying that, like, there is a statistic that the place that has the highest rate of STDs is nursing homes.
Oh,
Just
I
so you
know.
know.
I've heard that. Yes.
And they give a fuck and they're like, let's party. Like, I'm not gonna get preg. And like, but it's so sad because it's like, okay, not that I'm saying go out and get STDs, but like I'm just like the frequency of sex happening in nursing homes, like it's like why it's like you're gonna wait till your last day? Like,
Yeah.
what if it
Yeah.
is your last day? Do you want it to be sexless? I don't think so. Not listening to you. Yeah.
Amen. 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 Okay, question 5. Why does sex sometimes feel like one more thing on my to-do list? Yeah. This one I think we can actually cover pretty easily. I hear it all the time, but it gets into some of the things we've already been talking about. But I'll let you answer first, Barbara. Go for it.
Because if you are exhausted and overstimulated and carrying like a whole mental load from all day or the weeks prior, your nervous system is not primed for pleasure. So, desire rarely thrives under pressure. Instead of asking, how do I make myself want to have sex? Ask, what helps me feel alive, relaxed, and connected to myself? Pleasure begins long before the bedroom. So again, I can't stress it enough. If you are in like survival mode, if even if right now you're listening to this and your body, you're clenched up, your shoulders are tight, they're high, your jaw, even putting your fingers on your jaw, noticing that kind of experience in your body, that's all going to get in the way of you having the sex, and you're going to think about it as a chore versus as something that's like an experience of pleasure. And so eros really begins where you are really deep in your body, relaxed, and like just like in a state of like like you just took a yoga class. Like the more you can get into that state of surrender, of
Yeah.
like sub space, it's like
Yeah.
a like if you can be submissive to life, that's where eros starts to rise. And then it doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like there is nothing I want to do more than this right now.
Which is pretty much my constant state.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, truly, like it's you can't be in a constant like hustle culture, productivity, carrying all the emotional labor, running around, doing all the errands, planning, taking care of everyone else, and then like, and now I want to fuck. Like it doesn't work that way. Not really. As a performance, you might be able to push through and perform that, but to actually enjoy it, to actually want it, to actually feel like it's filling your tank instead of being another thing on your to-do list, you gotta fucking soften, right? It can't be a performance. It has to come from that place. So yeah, I love that answer. And again, you are so not alone. So many people feel this way about it. That can shift. That absolutely can shift. Which brings us to question 6, and we're only going to do these 6 questions for this episode. So again, if we didn't get to your biggest question, drop it in the comments, DM us, like find a way to share it with us and we will cover it in a future episode. But our final question is maybe my favorite. Um and this isn't from the audience. This is one I just like wanted to ask you, Barbara, and would like to answer myself. And that is, if every woman listening remember just one thing from today's conversation, like one takeaway on this topic of like sex and midlife and sensuality, what do you want her to remember? One message.
Your pleasure isn't selfish, it is essential to you thriving in your life. You are not too old, it's not too late, you are not broken or too much. Your body is incredibly wise, and it's never too late to reconnect with your desire, with your erotic life force. Midlife is not an end of your sensuality. That is a big lie. For many women, it's the beginning of the most authentic, liberating, creative as fuck, and deeply satisfying chapter of their life. It's like, I feel like my life fully fucking began. Like everything that came before is like, what is it they like, in a movie when it's like it's the pre, what's the
Prologue.
way? It's like the prologue, and then it's like, wow, my life finally started when I allowed this into, because there is also, when you get onto this path, you don't realize it. You think it's about pleasure, but there's also the deep spirituality of this, because this is the path to wholeness. If you are not allowing this into your life, if you've somehow had severe trauma, I'm sorry for you, I'm trauma informed, I get it, or the stress, the high cortisol levels, everything, all of it, totally understand, totally normal. It is impacting your experience of what it is to feel your wholeness, which then you don't feel good enough. And that is also bullshit too. It's the problem is not enough of you is living. And that's why you don't feel good enough. It's your body's way of saying, hey, come here. You got to take it.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
feel good enough. Don't forget about the neck down.
Yeah.
And that doing that will bring you pleasure in real time, but also your confidence. You start to feel, wait, I'm more than good enough. I'm a fucking best.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So there's so much for you to uncover on this path. It is here for you. It is calling you. If you are listening to this, this is your, like, this is the message that you've been asking for. This is the sign.
Yeah.
Decide,
Yeah.
make the decision, go forth.
Totally. I agree. I would add, or my version of this, the answer to this question is, and this applies to women, not just at midlife, but to all women listening to this, I just want to say you are a creatrix, like by nature. You were born with a life-giving portal between your legs, and whether actually give birth to a child or not doesn't matter. That energetic, like the monthly cycles, the way that we create, the way that we relate and connect, they've stopped teaching us that, but that is actually what women are about. And if you can ease into that, if you can trust your body, if you can listen to your body, if you can stop buying the bullshit that the patriarchy and this whole system we live in keeps selling us about our expiration date and the shame we're supposed to, like, listen to your pussy, listen to your body, get into rooms with women who are doing that. That's why we created the Sensual Sisterhood, as a side note, but like, get into a room with women who know that and watch how your life becomes a fucking magical, ecstatic experience. Even the messy, griefy parts. So, okay, I know we've only scratched the surface today. If we didn't answer your question, leave it in the comments. Join us in the Sensual Sisterhood. We will do another episode like this really soon. Thank you for joining us today. We love you. Mwah!